At this point, Hitman might as well carve out its own subgenre of action stealth games. We'll call them murder playgrounds. So Hitman 3 is the third and final chapter in the Hitman World of Assassination trilogy that started back in 2016. And this was one of the main games announced for the PS5 that I could not wait to play. I have always been a huge fan of the Hitman series. I'm a big fan of stealth action games in general and grew up loving Metal Gear Solid, then Splinter Cell, Hitman was in there as well. And while there has not yet been a single Hitman game that I have not really enjoyed, like not even a mediocre chapter as far as I'm concerned, I'm that big of a fan of this franchise. This World of Assassination trilogy that IOI Interactive has carved out for themselves over the past 4 or 5 years, this is Hitman on a new level. So if you haven't picked up the last 2 chapters of this trilogy, essentially it's the same type of gameplay. You play as Agent 47, you have targets, you have some sub-objectives sometimes, and then you have this sandbox area that you go into, and basically the world is your oyster. You can choose how to kill these characters, you can choose in which way, whether you want to go in guns blazing or you want to use all of the different skills that you have as an assassin, whether it's sneaking around or stealing things or switching up your costume. And that has pretty much always been the formula for these games, but this World of Assassination trilogy has just exploded the amount of freedom that you have. The maps are massive. The amount of times and the amount of different ways that you can kill your targets, both in gruesome and hilarious ways, is almost endless. And Hitman 3 absolutely carries the torch and keeps that trend going. So starting right off with the positives, that is the main one right there, is just the replayability. These 3 Hitman games might be the most replayable video games that I have ever played in my life. And that is a bold statement, because I've said before in other videos that Metal Gear Solid, Resident Evil 4, some of the other chapters in those video game series are games that I have played dozens of times. Hitman is designed to be played multiple times in multiple different ways. It's to the point where you will play a chapter, you will beat it, you will gain access to the next chapter, and you won't even have any interest in moving on because you want to go back to the chapter that you just beat and beat it about 12 or 15 more times and see how many different ways you can complete these objectives, kill these targets, and make it out unscathed, to the point where you will become a master of that map before you move on to the second one. I don't know of any other game that has ever been that way to me, where I get access to the next chapter and I want to push the pause button. I don't care what's next. I'm having fun right here. And as somebody that loves trophy hunting or achievement hunting, whatever you want to call it, I really appreciate that this Hitman trilogy has kind of put their own in-game achievements, like they call them challenges, to where you have all of these different ways that you can kill your target basically laid out for you. It's almost like a cheat sheet. You open it up and it gives you all the different ways that are really cool and entertaining to take out these assassination targets. It also has these sub-objectives that you can do, or secret items that you can find, or secret passageways, or ways to escape the level, to the point where you can play 2-3 dozen times and still not have all these challenges unlocked, and you still enjoy it enough to go back and try to figure out how to get those. On one playthrough, you might walk through and decide to pose as a private investigator that this woman has hired and try to solve this murder mystery within her house that inadvertently leads to her death, and then walk away unscathed. The next playthrough, you go in as a gardener or as a cook or as the butler, and you poison her food and let her die that way, and then get all of the things that you need and head out a different way, whether you steal the Undertaker's hearse, or you go across the bridge that you've now unlocked, or you go all the way back to the beginning of the level and go on the motorcycle that you came in on and clean everything up. It's just an endless supply of awesomeness in Hitman 3. Gotta give props to, especially for a game that is premiering on the PS5. I can't compare it to the PS4 and the Xbox One versions, but the PS5 version looks gorgeous. There's so many different levels and different kind of varieties of colors that they're going for, but one level in particular in China, it just screams cyberpunk. There's so many neon colors and purples and lights, to where the lighting effects in this game are incredible, the colors are incredible. For a game that has always put gameplay and fun first, it's awesome to see them also take that extra step and make sure that it's all very pretty while you're killing all these people. I gotta praise the game's sense of humor too. It seems funny to praise a game about murder for the humor, but this has always been kind of a tongue-in-cheek series. There's some that are more humorous than others. Absolution, as far as the story was probably the most tongue-in-cheek and the most kind of B-movie humor. But this one, just like the other 2 chapters, there's certain kills that you do that will just make you laugh your ass off as it's executed. Just the way that you kind of put these dominoes up and then knock the tower down and have your target hit an exploding golf ball and then just fly off the roof of this skyscraper in Dubai, it just literally cracks you up. And they always include some of those in each of these stages. You have some that are absolutely gruesome, some that have a really neat kind of story that you will go along with, and then you have some that are absolutely hilarious. And it just, that variety of gameplay, again, is where Hitman shines, and that humor is just one other spice that's thrown into the rack.
Hey, you.
Oh shit. Well, I didn't mean to do that, but is he gonna bounce off? Oh, that would have been cool. Sorry, bro.
The one mixed aspect that I have with Hitman 3 is that it's exactly the same as Hitman 1 and 2. If we're gonna be honest, Hitman 1, 2, and 3 might as well be the same exact game that they just chopped into 3 separate pieces. Now, on paper, that might sound like a ripoff, but in these 3 individual games, you're getting a hell of a lot of value for your money because there's so much replay value that you're getting a full game's worth length in just these little 6-chapter chunks that they've given us over the past 4 or 5 years. But along with that, you don't get a whole lot of progression. You can basically play Hitman 1 and maybe see this much difference between Hitman 1, 2, and 3. 2, I think, added a few little features. 3 added these little shortcuts that you can go and unlock, and it added this camera that can go and scan and unlock a few things that is kind of useless in the game. It really doesn't change anything. So if you're somebody that wants progression, if you want to play a game in 2015 and then play its sequel in 2021 and see this large little scale progression where they've added all these things, Hitman 3 is not that. Clearly they know what's great about these games, they have the formula down to a science, and they don't want to really add or take away anything to possibly mess with that. I'm fine with that. Would have been nice to have a couple of extra features to make it feel like a next generation game though. Now, as far as negatives, this game, as of the timing of this review, is a little bit buggy. And it's buggy to the point where I don't remember having these issues with Hitman 1 or in Hitman 2. Everybody knows the server issues that you have with these. You could still play the game with the servers down, but it just doesn't really rack up your points and add to your profile or take out these little challenges along the way. So for those of us that enjoy the game for that, it's almost like the game is down completely. But beyond the server issues, I've had quite a few issues with just in-game bugs. Now, this is not game-breaking bugs. These are not bugs that make this game unplayable. This is not Cyberpunk 2077 level. This is just things that once in a while will frustrate you and make you have to restart, or will frustrate you to the point where something will be inaccessible that you should have access to, whether it's an exit or an item that you're sitting there and you should be able to pick it up, but the icon for the button is gone, or you press it and nothing happens. I've even had some times where I've gone through an assassination, very clearly gotten some of these challenges, and at the end of the level it didn't pop, it didn't like register that I got them, so I had to do them again. And I've even had the game crash 3 separate times to where the sound goes out and then 2 seconds later it freezes, and the only way to get out of it is to completely close the application and go back into it. Frustrating thing for a game that just launched, but these are game bugs that I've only encountered a handful of times, and I've played this game at least 20-something hours at this point, so I feel like it's going to get better, but it is something to notate. If you're somebody that gets frustrated with bugs and it's going to infuriate you, maybe wait a couple of weeks for them to iron all this out and then enjoy Hitman 3. And one last thing that I want to talk about, and I'm not even sure if I can call it a negative or not, because it's something that I didn't even realize was going to be a part of this game, and it's something that most sequels would not even offer you, so in a way I feel a little bit selfish bitching about it, but Hitman 3 has this feature where you can import all of your save data, all of your achievements, and your entire game data over from the previous 2 Hitman games, as long as it's on the same console family, to where you can play every single map from Hitman 1 to Hitman 3, all using your Hitman 3 application. That's pretty awesome. Like I said, it's basically the same game, it's one story chopped up, so it makes sense to do it that way. Unfortunately, at least for me on the PS5, that process was absolute dog shit, because you only have a one-time transfer of your Hitman progress, and it even asks you, like, are you sure? Is this the account you want to do? Because you only get one shot. And I'm like, of course, that's the only one that I have. And I do it. It brings over all of my challenges, brings over all of my profile points, but doesn't bring over any of my game data. So I have Hitman 1 and Hitman 2 that are completely inaccessible. So then I was stuck, and the only way that I was able to access those previous 2 games' maps on the PS5 was to go and buy the digital PS5 version of those games, which luckily were cheaper than they were when I bought them the first time, but it is frustrating that I have to buy them again for a new console generation. And again, maybe it's a little bit greedy, because I would have expected to have to do that anyway if I wanted to play it on the PS5, but if you're gonna offer something, if you're gonna give us this cool feature to bring everything into one hub, make sure this shit works right. So before I wrap things up, guys, and give you my final thoughts, I want to give you a quick shout out to Into the AM Apparel. They're a clothing company online that has a pretty cool variety of different interesting designs. The t-shirt quality is damn good. I'm somebody that wears a ton of t-shirts, and the quality, the comfortability of these t-shirts is definitely better than most. And the way that it fits is better than most as well. I'm a tall guy. I have a constant problem to where when I find shirts that actually fit my body well and don't look like I'm swimming in it, they don't come down long enough because I have a long torso. These actually fit. These come down past my waist to where when I raise my hands up, I ain't showing my belly button to everybody. That's awesome, but they do have cool designs like this one. They've sent me a lot of merchandise. They're a very cool company, and I have a link down below in every single one of my videos for you guys to check their apparel out. And if you use my link, you get 10% off every single one of your orders, and they do additional sales that will compound that as well. So check out Into the AM down below, and let's move on with our final thoughts on Hitman 3. So overall, guys, I loved this. I am somebody that was a huge fan of the first 2 games. This gave me everything that I wanted, everything that I loved from those first 2 games, and in some ways, the maps are even bigger and better than ever. A few bugs along the way, a few frustrating features, and they definitely could have added more to the game by now. But if you're a Hitman fan, if you love these sandbox games, if you love the strategy and the patience and the timing and everything that goes into these, this is just another awesome addition to the Hitman library, and you should check it out absolutely. So if you're a Hitman fan, this is a no-brainer. Definitely check this game out. And if you're a newbie to the series, check this out and buy the previous 2 games for one huge, bloody, awesome package. You will not regret it, and you will literally spend hours sharpening your skills as Agent 47. So what do you guys think of Hitman 3? Let me know your thoughts down below, and we will talk about those down there. What is your favorite Hitman game? Tell me that down below as well. I'm sure Blood Money is going to be a favorite on everybody's list, but man, these World of Assassination games are pretty fucking hard to beat. Speaking of that, keep your eyes peeled on this channel, because here in a couple of days I am going to do a ranking of all of the Hitman games. I've played every single one of them, even the mobile games, so it's a perfect time to do a ranking. Please hit the subscribe button so that you do not miss that. Like and share this video if you enjoyed this one, and as always, guys, remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean that you have to be.